Howdy, y'all. My name is Dave, and you're listening to the Anime Field Guide podcast, where I talk about anime, obviously, and related topics, and the fine folks who make it all possible. Before we get into our episode for the day, I want to get the plugs out of the way. You can find the Anime Field Guide on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at ANI Field Guide, ANI Field Guide, that's all one word. We have a Discord open. You can join that through the links in the socials. We post 3 shows and we sort of rotate between the 3. Every month you can expect either an anime review or we do a series called the Studio Rundown. And today is a special bonus episode, our third leg of the podcast, as it were. And so my special guest today for a special bonus episode is Tyler from the Anime Degens podcast. How you doing today, buddy?
Doing just fine. It's great to be back on your show, your new show specifically. I'm glad that you're starting doing this again.
It feels good to be back behind the mic. It wasn't so much that when I was recording the new episodes, but then I did like 2 retro gaming podcasts just with some buddies that I'd already scheduled like months, or I think one was even a year in advance. And so I remember sitting down and I'm going like, this feels nice. This feels like I missed this. So even then, like doing this just feels right. I really did miss it. So, and it's great to have you back on the show as well.
Oh yeah.
Would you like telling the fine folks listening in a little bit about the Anime Degens podcast?
Sure, yeah. For y'all that don't know us, we do 2 episodes a week, or try to. We do a weekly rundown where we talk about the new episodes of like 3, usually about 3 shows, 3 seasonals. Usually we have One Piece too, but if you're a One Piece fan, you know the heartbreak of it being on hiatus for the last 6 months. So also we do a second episode where, like I said, we try to every week, where we just bullshit about different anime topics. We do occasional reviews, but it's usually just some kind of fun anime topic. We're big One Piece fans over there. We're big shonen fans. Me, myself, I'm a little bit of everything. I lean more towards the romance, slice of life kind of stuff nowadays, more than I do the shonen stuff. So that's about it. You can find us at linktr.com/animedegens.
Thanks again, Tyler. So everybody make sure to give the Anime Degens a like and a follow, and wherever you're listening from. So Tyler, you and I are fans of a lot of slice of life, like romance shows, nice little mix up between all of the action pew pew stuff that makes all the dopamine go. Just something is really satisfying about a good relationship. Unless we only get about a couple of volumes worth and then the show ends and our only recourse is possibly, well, they're the books. Well, okay, are you going to adapt more? Maybe.
We'll see in 10 years.
Yeah, maybe in 10 years if you're lucky.
Kimi no Todoke.
I'm about to say Kimi no Todoke. Like, my goodness. That got me thinking about what are some of the anime where we did take that offer of there's plenty of anime that ended without fully adapting the source material, which we colloquially call just, okay, it ended, go read the manga. We picked the slice of life / romance genre because it's especially filled with these kinds of shows. Like the slice of life genre is the chief, I would say, abuser of just go read the manga ending. They don't typically get all of the high budget money that would go into the more like shonen action shows, especially in like the seinen or shoujo, josei, some of the older audiences or like the less underserved audiences. Like shonen is like the main demographic by a country mile. It's still nice to get these shows, but all the same. Tyler and I picked 5 each, and then there's a special bonus round at the end, so you can stay tuned to find out what that special bonus round is. You can, of course, skip to the end if you're a DGen, but why would you do that? You're listening to this episode, you've listened this far, I hope, so why not stick around? So how we're going to do this, we're going to generally count, and it's no particular order. Like my number 1 is obviously my number 1 pick, but 5s through 2, I'm not really ranking them as in terms of likability. It's just, here's 5, here we go. And so what we'll do is we'll have the count, and we'll start a short synopsis, brief personal history maybe with the work. We'll also list the manga author, the anime studio, and director. Just here's where you can go find it. And then again, it's part of our personal history. Why do we like this series? What's the chief appeal of the series? Within the slice of life genre, I personally tend to attach more to stories about people learning a skill or like going on a journey. I also enjoy a good romance, but if I'm looking at a high school romance, I'm twice the age of these characters. So I'm typically not watching a high school. It's got to be something like Blue Box. And then for me, I can only handle maybe one or two a year like that. Or really, if I'm going to watch a romance or read a romance series, it's going to be something that focuses on the relationship, not just getting to the relationship in the first place. That being said, I'm looking at Clanad over on my shelf, and that was, if you want to see like the starting point, that was almost like my origin, the Clanad and the Key trilogy, as it was with the Kyoto Animation. What do you watch for Slice of Life for?
It's been a long time, but I think one of the first shows that I actually watched, as far as like slice of life romance, was My Love Story.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's been a long time ago, and I kind of related to that a lot. I liked it. But the dude's like a big dude, like he's just very humble, very kind, selfless. And I kind of related to that. That was me growing up. I've always been a big boy and stuff, and always put others first. And like I just love seeing someone like that win. I think like the second thing I ever watched was like Toradora, which it got me started down the path of the what's it called, love triangles.
It got you started down the Pure Parade.
Yeah. It also introduced me to one of my favorite like character styles now, which is like the Genki girl. Minori was my favorite girl. She still is one of my favorite girls. I really enjoy that character style. Any kind of show that has that type of girl, for example, Blue Box and Hina.
I was about to say I was going to call you out, so at least you're honest.
Yeah, y'all know my type. Y'all know the type that I root for. That's just the character I love, I enjoy. So, but as far as why I watch them, like I watched shonen for a long time, and like, I'm not battle shonen, like action shonen, like Toradora. That's a shonen too, by the way. Yeah. But I did watch a lot of isekais. I did watch a lot of action stuff. That's what I started with, and like after you watch so many of them, you just get bored of seeing the same old. And like, I feel like one of the things that I really like about anime, in particular, the medium in particular, is that the characters can do so much. They can be so fun. And when you dive into the slice of life world, and even like the romance world, the drama world, you start getting like fun dynamics. You start getting like fun character groups. Like if you look at like some of my top anime of all time, you'll see like Kimi ni Todoke, where it's got an extensive supporting cast taking part in the main storyline too. And that's what I enjoy. I enjoy when shows do that, when they have a bunch of characters come together and the interactions are very good with each other. The chemistry flows, everything just hits like that. That's why I like watching slice of life and romance. Because those are the shows that make me have the most fun. And at this point in my like anime journey, I guess you can say, I just want to have fun watching stuff. So,
do you want to? You just finished talking, so do you want me to go first? Because my number 5 is kind of a 2-parter. It's a 1.5-parter ish.
If you don't care, that way I can see like how you I guess structure it, you know what I mean? That way I'm not that way I can kind of go with your vibes, you know what I mean?
Sure, that'll work.
5.
Okay, it falls to me to kick this off. Fair note, listeners, Tyler and I did coordinate on our top 5s, but the bonus is I don't know what he picked for his bonus, and he doesn't know what I picked for my bonus. So my number 5 is called A Sign of Affection. And this was a Winter 24 anime series. This was by Studio Asia Do and directed by a guy, Yuta Murano. and he's done like Kakushigoto and How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. As far as the manga side, this is a shoujo manga written and illustrated by the manga artist unit Su Morishita. And right now we're up to 12 total volumes, while the English translated, I believe, is at volume 10. And so A Sign of Affection follows college students. So our main protagonist is a girl named Yuki, and she has congenital hearing loss. So she uses sign language and lip reading to communicate. And one day on her regular train commute, she meets the handsome Itsuomi, and he can speak at least 3 languages. And he's a guy that regularly travels out of the country. And Itsuomi is fascinated by how Yuki sees the world around her and how she communicates. And Yuki, in turn, is instantly charmed by his charisma. And so this is very much I would say, a relatively straightforward love story. You know, Yuki makes the first move by offering to teach Itsuomi some sign language. And we basically follow their relationship from there. As you can expect, the anime side generally covers all of the setup and their first hurdles. You have the classic jealous childhood friends. You've got some love triangles. Yuki's best friend, she's also looking to snag herself a man. And it just so happens that there's an older brother who's single. I mean, this is like a pure romance story. This is a story about people figuring out their feelings. And there's a little bit of heartbreak involved. You got to have a little bit of spiciness in that aspect, but there's not going to be any major curveballs. Yuki is never going to be tempted away from Itsuomi. Like, it's pretty obvious at the start that they are very much into each other. They're not going to just suddenly drop all of that for the first person that comes by. And I mean, everyone in the show, like, you could get back to the art style, just everybody in the show is a damn supermodel. Like, my goodness, this show is pretty.
It is very it's very shoujo style.
It is extremely
and
shoujo.
You can tell it. It's just so easy to tell that this is what this is, and like it's basically like all sweet, all candy. No bitterness.
Barely any bitterness. There is it's very sweet. It's nice seeing how they learn to connect, and again, things are going to get a little more serious as the manga progresses, and we start to learn a little bit more about why Itsuomi goes out of the country so often, why he speaks so many languages, what drives him to travel. So sometimes opening up can be scary. A Sign of Affection, I would say, to start us off, really, really solid shoujo romance series. It's very sweet. So you can check this out on Crunchyroll very, very easily. Again, it's a very recent show. It's a year ago, but still only a year ago as of this recording. And this brings me to my quick side mention, which I had mentioned to this when I was reading it. And then I think, Tyler, you're currently reading this as well, or maybe have watched it or read it. My side mention goes out to A Silent Voice. This is a movie. You can watch it on Netflix. It's a Kyoto Animation. The author of the manga is Yoshitoki Oima. So if you know To Your Eternity, which you can watch on Crunchyroll, another thing that will just break your heart over its knees. It is extremely sad, and so is A Silent Voice. But as far as the anime side, I'm trying to just kind of scoot through this one a little bit. So it's directed by Naoko Yamada. So this is the person who brought us K-On!, Liz and the Bluebird. There's a movie that just came out of hers that just came out called The Colors Within. So it's another one about girls forming a band, and I really want to watch that one as well. A Silent Voice also has a character with congenital hearing loss, one of our protagonists. But this is more about a story of redemption and forgiveness. It is a story that will mend your heart. It will break your heart repeatedly without mercy. And I think as we're talking manga list, it's only 7 volumes. And for that money, I would think is one of the most affordable series I have in my list for the price and the shelf space. And then you also have large print omnibus hardcover. So there are two of these hardcovers, which is how I own the series. If you watch the movie, then I would probably watch it before reading the manga. I like the movie, but I also know a lot of people who do not like the movie. And as much as I enjoy the movie, I do have some deep issues with how it adapted the manga.
Oh yeah. I mean, A Silent Voice, that's top 5 anime movie for me. Like I've watched it so many times now. Like it's just a really good show. I know you say like it didn't adapt it, like closely and stuff like that, which kind of makes me scared to go and read the manga for it, because I do hold it in such high regards in my head. But then again, I could also like maybe just separate them, like they're their own thing, So
A Silent Voice the movie is a good movie, not a good adaptation, and that is fine. So, but you will get so
yeah.
much more out of the manga. Like if you think the movie actually held back from some of the stuff that happened in the manga. So I think if you read it, I expect some DMs of like, bro, they didn't. But yeah, I just wanted to. I intended it to be a quick shout out, but again, we're not in a time crunch here anyway. So, Tyler, what is your number 5?
My number 5 is gonna be let's go with Insomniacs After School, because this we was talking about like problems, like hearing problems and stuff. Well, these kids, they have a little bit of problem themselves. This aired back in spring 2023, which was a really good season, by the
It's an
way.
amazing
13
season.
eps. Yeah, it's honestly one of my favorite seasons of anime, other than like fall 2023.
Yeah, 2023 itself was just an insane year. Yeah, fall
Yeah,
fall
yeah,
2023 is just
2023. Yeah,
almost untouchable. But yeah, I interrupted you. So
yeah, it's fine. High Dive. High Dive is where you can watch this at. Also, if you want to read the manga, it is on the Viz app. There's not a whole lot of manga that you can read like on apps nowadays if it's in this kind of genre, but this is available on the Viz app and it is finished. So you got 14 volumes, 125 chapters. The mangaka is going to be Makoto Ojiro, and they haven't really done a whole lot else. Loudon Films is going to be the studio, and you'll know them from like the Kenshin remake, Tokyo Revengers, Call of the Night, which is
gorgeous
a
show.
really
Yeah.
good show too. Yeah, it's so good. Another one that it only got one season too, but I don't know if that's an original anime or not. I forget off the top of my head.
Which one?
So, Call of the Night.
Call of the Night is a manga. Yeah,
Okay.
which also recently wrapped.
Oh, damn. Okay. The director for this is going to be Yuki Akita. What's surprising about that is like this is his first time being a main director. Like he directed like a few episodes here and there of like Tonari no Yoka-san and Blade of the Mortal. This is his first time directing the whole show, and I thought that he done a really good job.
Yeah, I'm impressed. I really liked this show. It was very charming, but it had a lot of heart. I was not also expecting to see like astrophotography as being a focus of this. I was very
Oh yeah,
surprised. Actually, one of
yeah,
my bosses is into astrophotography, so I happened to mention this show to him. Now, it's not to say that I sent him off to High Dive and he watched the show. It was just a point of connection.
yeah. And like the thing is like Bass, one of my co-hosts, like he was really big into like photography and like specifically like astro photography and stuff like in high school apparently. I actually got him and Dan to watch the show and they actually kind of enjoyed it. And if you know them, they are not romance / slice of life fans. Dan even goes a step further and he hates high school romances, but I think he was pretty high on this one just because like it just has a really good vibe and it's not all about that. It's just about like characters and their chemistry together and like the trips that they go on and the night sky and stuff like that. So
Yeah, because it is a romance. The school has this big observatory that's being unused, and so the two insomniac kids are basically pressed to reform the astronomy club. And so it's a way of them learning about a new world and something that, hey, we can't sleep anyway, so let's go take pictures of stars. And so again, one of those, I really liked it because not just the relationship, but again, they're learning a cool skill and they were able to expand. Like you had that cool senpai who lived in a shipping container next to an arcade,
yeah,
and watching that person go out and do astrophotography and basically camp out the whole night and take their cat along with them. That they have this whole setup and they're just eating pancakes at 2 in the morning. Oh, sign me up.
it's so good, bro. But and also like the whole reason why this they formed this group or whatever is because they both started like so they can't sleep. They're insomniacs obviously. And they can't sleep, and in order to get some sleep, they would go up to this observatory like David mentioned and they would sleep there, but one day like they saw each other sleeping or they caught each other sleeping and like they just formed a connection through their same illnesses, I guess you can call that. Insomnia would
Yeah,
be a
just
better
just
word
the same
probably.
condition, yeah.
Yeah, the same condition. There you go. I honestly thought it was gonna be one of those like maybe Your Lie in April things, and was like, oh, we're just chilling. So, but I'm really glad about that. The one thing I will give the manga over the anime, the night sky scenes are so gorgeous, bro. In the manga, I will give it. I will give it to the manga any day with the beautiful like night sky scenes and all the starry skies and like just all those kind of pictures and like the pictures of the scenery and background. Like it's just so beautiful in the manga, and I don't think the anime comes close to it. In my opinion, there's a fun supporting cast in this as well. There's a lot of people that's in this relationship with them, kind of because they're in high school, they're friends and stuff. There is just a little bit of drama and tension. I say it's like on the same level as Sign of Affection. Like there's not a whole lot. Most of the time it's just like very chill. It's very calm. Basically they're exploring, friendships and having a fun time while going through their normal high school lives. That's probably all I got on that one. Have you read the manga all the way, Dave?
I did not continue with the manga on this one, or not
Okay.
not too far. I went a couple of chapters, but I've not me personally, I've not read the manga on this one, but I'll have to give it a little bit of a shot then. But there are others on your list, and obviously some on my list that I've continued. So just throw Insomniacs on the pile, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely recommend the manga for anyone that has watched the anime, just because like it's not that long, and honestly the anime covered around half of it already. I'm surprised that we didn't get a second season of this, but it's just the way it goes nowadays. You don't get a whole lot of these shows coming back. So even though it was very well received, so
That's an almost perfect transition into my number 4. So we'll kick it off.
4.
So my number 4 is Silver Spoon. This is the Hiromu Arakawa manga I feel gets left out of the conversation a bunch. This is something that was published on the heels of Full Metal Alchemist and Hero Tales, and then sandwiched in between her other fantasy epics, The Heroic Legend of Arslan and Daemons of the Shadow Realm. And I think that's kind of sad because Silver Spoon is a really charming manga. And so it's about a suburban kid, Yugo Hachikin. He enrolls at a rural agricultural high school in order to get away from the town, get away from his family, mainly his dad. However, Hachikin has no ag experience whatsoever. So it's a classic fish out of water setup, and Hachikin repeatedly making an ass of himself across several early chapters. But he is a good kid, and he's a hard worker, and he meets a lot of good people, and they help him figure out what he wants to do with his future. And through all of this, Hachikin finds connections and a passion from all these unexpected sources. We see him become a better person before it because he's repeatedly steps out of his comfort zone, and he's also not only brave enough to take that first step, he's brave enough to keep stepping. I think Arakawa has always been an excellent character writer. I mean, that's one of like the coldest takes in this episode, I think. She is just an amazing character writer. And the supporting cast in this manga, I could go on forever, but it is just absolutely incredible just how many people she's crammed in. And of course, you'll see some familiar Full Metal Alchemist designs and recycled all through her other manga as well. But it is kind of fun to see Armstrong's character recycled as someone else, or Riza Hawkeye as someone else. It is also good to see a protagonist that allows her to flex her comedic chops beyond the whole repeating joke of Edward Elric hates being called short. She gets very creative with how Hachikin just steps in it, most of the time, literally. And it's also one that I feel, especially when she is known for these big fantasy epics, this is what I call, again, it's a very personal manga because Hiromu Arakawa, she grew up in rural Hokkaido. She grew up on a dairy farm. And so this whole manga feels like a love letter to her roots. The whole manga is out. It ran from 2011 to 2019. I think it's 15 volumes total, and it's still readily available online. It's in bookstores. You can easily find it. Hiromu Arakawa is very much a household name. The anime, however, is a different story. Initially, this was done by A1 Pictures, and it ran for 2 seasons. It was a weird episode run. It was 22 total episodes by the end of winter 2014. And so again, the manga ran from 2011 to 2019. So there's a lot, and I mean a lot, that is not covered by this anime. And I think it does a solid job. It's A1 Pictures, directed by Tomohiko Ito. So, considering this is the director of Sword Art Online, but he's also the director of Erased. So, a very, very wide swing of quality.
Oh yeah.
For this one, I think A1 Pictures did an okay job of adapting the series, but the manga pacing is it's just so much better. If you're talking the manga panels of here's how you do a specific thing, like say milking a cow or running them through, like here's this machine working. Well, obviously you have the benefit of motion in the anime. Sadly, you either have to go, you basically have to sail the high seas to find Silver Spoon, the anime, because this is one of many Funimation type titles that were not picked up by Crunchyroll after the merger. The physical copies are also long out of print. I see them go for very expensive. And obviously, there's no third season announcement at all. It's just been dead silence for over a decade, which, again, I feel like it's sad. But the manga is at least very available. And I think it's just a very cozy, comfy, while also plenty of times where the Hachiken has to make a really hard decision, and he also learns a lot about, it's a whole thing of life on the farm.
Yeah, I plan on watching this sometime or another. I was gonna try to fit it in before we did this episode just to get a feel on what it was about and stuff. I just didn't have time. But that's literally the only one on your list that I haven't watched at least some of or all of. So I think it's my kind of vibe too. I'm like you. I really enjoy watching someone like learn a new skill or learn skills and stuff. I feel like this would be a fun time too. So
I don't know. It's very interesting. It's one of the edutainment
oh
in
yeah.
some chapters. But yeah, I think you'll really enjoy the anime. Again, the actual animation quality, it's solid. It's nothing that's gonna knock your socks off. It will be. I mean, it's A1 Pictures. They're currently
Oh
working on Solo
yeah.
Leveling. So I mean, you're gonna have a good time with Silver Spoon, and I think it's worth checking out.
Yeah, and plus I feel like it would be kind of relatable for me as well since I grew up around the farm and on the farm. So
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. What's your number four?
My number four is gonna be from a shoujo romance. And this is going to be my love story with Yamada-kun at level 999. Dave has watched this too.
I'm caught up in the manga as well, so
Yeah.
you're preaching to the choir, buddy. Let her
Yeah.
rip.
And so with this one, this is also going to be from spring 2023, a very good season, like I said. You can find this on Crunchyroll. And also, the manga is available on Manga Mo website, which is their official website. Apparently, I've never heard of it before, but I found it, during my research of this. But it's good to know I don't have to go on the, one sites anymore to read the official titles. To get into this, I want to give a quick synopsis. That way, for the people that don't know what this is about, after her boyfriend breaks up with her for another girl in a different game, Akane is left with a broken heart. So loading up her favorite MMO, The Forest of Savior, they used to play together. She forms a plan to get back at her ex through an RL game event. In the process, she runs into someone unexpectedly, Yamada, a young gaming prodigy. And desperate for support, Akane tries to get Yamada to help her out with her revenge scheme on her ex-boyfriend. Thus begins their unique journey together. I just want to say, like, the mangaka is going to be Mashiro, and I looked, and this is literally their only work. And for it being their only work, they've done a hell of a job. It's been going since 2019, 5 years now. 10 volumes out, over 100 chapters. I know it was on hiatus for a little while. I don't know if it's back or not yet, but it was on hiatus. Do you know?
I have not kept up with it for a while after it was announced on hiatus, so
Yeah,
I
same.
am just waiting to be pleasantly surprised.
Like I was caught up with it and then it went on to hiatus. I never heard anything else about it. So I'm not sure if it ever came back or not. But like Dave, I will be surprised when I do find out that it comes back and then I'll have to, catch up. And it's always a fun time binging instead of waiting.
The charm scale is just off the charts. I like the art style as well, the character designs and the art style. It's very different from what I would typically expect,
Yeah, well, it's done by, one of my favorite studios, Madhouse.
right?
So done like Frieren, and a bunch of other shows, but Frieren like was one of the most recent ones. They done a really, really good job. Like a really good job. I was so happy with this. Shows like this doesn't really get the attention they deserve in like the animation, but this was actually done very well, I thought. the director for this, it was also Morio Asaka. This dude is like a heavy hitter. Like I looked at his like resume. He has done Chihaya Furu.
Chihaya Furu.
Yeah, pardon my language. I can barely speak English. Don't expect me to speak Japanese. So My Love Story, Nana, Monster, Chobits, Cardcaptor, Sakura, just to name a few. He's definitely a heavy hitter, and you can definitely tell.
This makes me feel, you said Chihaya Furu, and this one gives you some kind of vibes from that show as well. But I think it's also just the art style.
Yeah.
It's such a pretty show. I need to catch up on Chihaya Furu. I have all 3 seasons and I haven't caught up on that yet. Such a pretty show.
Yeah. And, speaking of like the gamer girl and like the gamer side of things, I think that that's one of the biggest reasons why this show is so enjoyable. Like I'm a big gamer myself. There's a lot of gamers out there, they're going to enjoy this. But the thing that makes this show so good is that not only is their relationship or like their friendship between like the whole guild, and this has got a big supporting cast as well. They don't only do stuff in the real world, like the in-game world is a big part of this show too. And it is so important to the humor side of things and like just the relationship building as well. And they do such a good job with having certain scenarios happen in the game world and having certain scenarios happen in the outside world. The chibi style, like the chibi art style that they do, the character designs, like it just like makes the humor of this show so much better. Because this is meant to be like a fun and lighthearted rom-com type of show. And it does a really good job at that.
Yeah, and the whole gimmick of her using this, so Akane herself, she's more like a casual gamer. She got into this video game because of her first boyfriend, and Yamada is like, he's a pro gamer. He plays this MMO to relax. So the whole gimmick of her using Yamada as a way to get back at her boyfriend, that's over by like episode 1 or 2, and then it's really about her fitting in with the friend group and really moving on. I remember from the first episode, I remember being slightly concerned that the gimmick was going to wear out, but then that's the whole thing. It wasn't just a gimmick; it was just the setup.
Yeah,
and so watching them make a genuine connection, and especially going forward in the manga, bro, things get a little spicy. So we are things are moving along that I'm sitting here going, okay, Akane, go girl.
I'm pretty sure like within the first 5 to 10 chapters after the anime, it's just like, well,
we are dating.
Yeah, and I really enjoy that because these two are like very late teens, like they're pretty much adults. Yeah, I think it's 8. I think he's 17 when the anime or the anime manga starts.
Yeah, he's certainly 18 now.
Yeah, he turns 18 like very soon after the manga and anime starts, and I think she's like confirmed to be 20. But it's like very close. If you're looking at it, it's like a sophomore and a junior, bro. I don't know why people have issues with that one. To each their own, I guess.
3.
My number 3 starts with the 3 actually. The English title of this is called 365 Days to the Wedding, but the Japanese title was actually Are You Really Getting Married? And so 365 Days to the Wedding, as far as the manga goes, this is by Tamaki Wakaki. This is the author from The World God Only Knows, the legendary rom-com harem series, the wackadoodle thing, now doing this very grounded, down-to-earth office romance comedy. I'm thinking all the shenanigans and stuff that happened in The World God Only Knows. I just struggled, man. I don't know how did you move from this? But anyways, this was a fall 2024 anime. Again, 12 episodes. Studio is Ashi Productions, and they've been around for a while. You may not know their name, but this is the studio that gave us Vampire Hunter D, the 1985 OVA, Macross 7. They're also known for Magical Princess Miki Momo. And then at the same time as they were doing this show in fall 24, How I Attended an All Guys Mixer.
Yeah, I plan on watching that sometime or another. I've heard really good things about it. So
you'll have to let me know. I've heard good things as well, but I'm not interested in checking it out. But maybe you'll convince me on that one. So 365 Days is an office worker romantic comedy, and this is involving 2 extreme introverts. So our protagonists are named Takia and Rika. They work at the same travel agency, and the setup is their company announces that we're opening a new branch in Siberia. Record scratch sound. It was changed to Anchorage, Alaska in the anime.
Yeah.
Any employees who are unmarried will be recruited to work in the Anchorage, Alaska office. Naturally, these two introverts are suddenly feeling really nervous about being picked for relocation. And so I believe it's Rika. She approaches Takia first and says, I don't want to move. I know you don't want to move. So let's have a fake marriage or engagement until someone else in our office gets chosen for this new position.
I ain't gonna lie, Dave. I thought this was a very silly premise.
It's a very silly premise.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I understand for like the plot and the content, like that's what they wanted, like that's how they want to set it up. But in a real situation, I think it would be easier just to find another job, right?
I think so as well, but that's not how these two. That's not how this works. They're
No, it's not how this works at all.
I think these are two relatively intelligent people, but they are very quick to both hit the panic button. It's further comedy because they both have zero romantic experience, like at all. Now they make this announcement and now they have to convince all their coworkers. And of course the families get involved. So, oh yeah, we're totally lovey-dovey. And aside from all the wackiness, I really attached to this manga. Now, I'll say like full stop. I tried watching the anime and I got about 3 episodes in, and the style of comedy for this one really wasn't doing it for me. The manga is very like this is an extremely dialogue driven manga. I don't know, the anime just came off as very stiff, and I think the style of jokes in the story didn't really help for the pacing. Because a lot of the early humor is these two people kind of awkwardly staring at each other for a long time.
Yeah.
And in the manga, you can just read past that. But in the anime, it goes rather uncomfortably. And that's the joke, but it's doesn't really make for good television, I think.
I finished like the whole, season, obviously. And like it had its moments. I'll give it that. Like, it had some fun times, but as the season progressed, I feel like I got more and more frustrated. And that's coming from someone that generally likes this type of stuff and like has Kimi ni Todoke at like top 5 of all time, which is full of misunderstandings and like frustration and, all that good stuff. But it's just like this was a different kind of frustration because like these people are too adult and they're acting like they're in high school. I think the anime just didn't do it justice as far as like the situations and stuff goes. So I also feel like the whole mystery caller was very out of place too. I had issues with that. I guess the best word is it felt like very stiff and forced on a lot of the drama. So like I enjoyed the first half, and like the second half was like, do I drop this? I'll stick around and see what happens. And then it got better for a minute. We had the whole the side character relationship thing, the big guy, I think, right? And with the kid, the woman with the kid or whatever. And then they was just like, oh, we're just not gonna talk about that no more. And I'm just like, bro, literally some of the best things that y'all showed us, and you're not gonna talk about it no more, So I don't know if they do that in the manga or not, but that's crazy.
Yeah, in the manga, that actually goes to my next point. I think this is definitely one of just read the manga because those characters you mentioned, 365 Days to the Wedding is this big dialogue on the relevance of marriage in like a modern society. Obviously, you can also think of like Japan's whole population / marriage crisis being the obvious connection, but it does go deeper than that. The whole supporting cast here are a varying array of coworkers who are either married or you have the guy who's divorced and complaining all the time, the single guy who's always trying to get a date. The whole entire supporting cast is giving their 2 cents while Rika and Takia are trying to figure out what is marriage? Why are we so fixated on fooling everyone that we're getting married? What's the point? It's a manga that asks, what's the point? And this is one, like, definitely just go check out the books. This was an amazing read. It's a very easy read. It's a very fulfilling read as well. Aside from the coworkers, then you'll have conversations with Takia and his dad, and there's a bit of discourse, or a bit of discord between him and his dad. But thanks to Rika, he's now able to open up to his dad. And it's the same thing with Rika and her mom have a bit of a falling out, but Taki is able to talk to Rika's mom and all kinds of things. Like, there's so much that happens in the books that really pays off, and the manga pacing is just so much better. Just read the manga.
Yeah, I probably would have to agree with that because like after watching anime, like I wasn't interested in reading the manga, you know, because it just wasn't, you know, the best.
I'd say like even just start from the beginning because you'll still have those general setups, but the pacing is just so much better.
I feel like you have to in like this situation just to see like it's better. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right, what you got?
Well, my next one is going to be Uncle from Another World. I'm talking about this one because like you was talking about an adult cast. This has a adult cast too, so I figured it'd be a nice transition into this. Even though it's different in its own way, instead of like going to Alaska, they're going to an isekai, a different world, and so it's a really fun reverse isekai. This was on Netflix in 2022. Yeah. So if y'all are not familiar with this one, just a quick rundown of what it is. Takafumi's uncle, he's been in a coma for 17 years now after getting in an accident with a truck. And when he finally wakes up, he begins to ramble in a foreign language that no one can understand. And he reveals that he's been transported to a magical world called Grand Bahama, like any normal person would do. Takafumi's like, this dude's so delusional. Like, he woke up from his coma, like he's crazy. But then out of nowhere, he makes a cup of water hover in the air. And so they're just like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. And so what's the first thing you do when you can use magic? Create a YouTube channel. And so that's what they do. They create a YouTube channel. And basically Takafumi also has to teach Uncle everything that he needs to know about the new world and what has happened while he was gone, while he was in his coma, gone to Grand Bahama. So this is a very interesting, I guess, perspective on the reverse isekai world.
I think this is specifically this is a show and also a manga that is clearly a love letter to classic Sega. Like the first thing, like the whole thing about Takafumi's uncle is he was obsessed with the Sega consoles, specifically the Saturn. And so he asks Takafumi, the first thing he wakes up is like, tell me, how is Sega doing in the console wars? And Takafumi has to tell him, Sega's lost. Like they don't make consoles anymore. And it's just the absolute look of despair to the point that Uncle he has a mind erasing magic. So you just see him slowly take out this notebook, write something down, and then erase his own memory that Sega lost the console wars. And it's just many jokes like that. He's got this whole memory TV that he can show Takafumi, and then one of Takafumi's friends who has a bit of a crush on him. You don't need too much of a genre familiarity with like isekai stuff, but it certainly helps if you're familiar with like isekai tropes because it twists them and puts them on their head so very cleverly, and then also throws in a bunch of jokes about, I wanted to use this move from this Sega game, and it shows him doing something ridiculous. And people in the other world going, what in the world is he? But it works.
Bro, it's so crazy. If you think about it this way, right? So they created a YouTube channel in order to, I guess, make money, right? Gain followers and make money. But if you look at it this way, Dave, literally like they created the YouTube in their world, but they made an anime of them doing react content to his memories. So it's basically just basically a reaction YouTuber content that is they made that the anime.
It's a very meta joke, and it just works. This is a very joyful series. It's a very silly series. Yeah, that is Uncle Isekai in a nutshell. Just love it so much.
If you're a fan of like retro stuff, like Dave said, like there's all kinds of retro gaming specifically, and like just old school stuff like flip phones, like stuff that like 90s babies and like even earlier than that would just like, oh,
I remember
like
that
the Leonardo DiCaprio Yeah, and also like the facial expressions. It's like Konosuba level. And one thing about this is I usually watch anime in the sub version, but I really, 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 really like the dubbed version of this because like it just makes it so much funnier. And what's crazy is like I was looking at the English voice actors, and literally almost everyone besides the nephew Takafumi had very little experience voice acting on the English side of things. And then they got Alex Lee for Takafumi. That I'm just like, bro. But they all done such a good job. Like they all done a really good job. So
Yeah, as far as the manga side of things, the manga art is also very different from the anime. It is
but it's
extremely
good
detailed.
though.
It's very
Yeah.
good. It's the manga art is that kind where it's almost like reading through paintings. Just the way that it's inked and the textures on the clothing. It's very easy on the eyes, and this is one that I am fine reading ahead in the manga. Man, I want a second season of this so bad, but I'm doing okay being current with the manga.
Yeah, and it looks like there's been like this has been going for 2000 since 2018. There's 13 volumes, and I forgot to mention that the studio was Atelier Pontiac, and they've literally only done like like a couple of different anime besides this. And that's like No Longer Allowed in Another World and Ganbare Doki-chan. The thing is, like, that really surprised me because they done such a phenomenal job with the reactions and like the whole like animation, and they've literally they haven't done hardly anything. You know what I mean? They done such a good job. So shout out to them for doing that. And I still don't think that they have done a whole lot since then. Except for like the No Longer Allowed in Another World.
Right.
So, but that's all I got for this one.
All right, so let's move on.
2.
I'm up to my penultimate entry, and like Uncle Isekai, this is a little bit of a different sort of premise. It is a depressing title with a very depressing premise, but I promise it's a very wholesome and cheerful story. This is Girls' Last Tour. We follow two girls, Yuri and Chito, as they navigate the ruins of a civilization after some unnamed apocalypse, likely a very big war of some kind. They're traveling around in this Kettenkrad, which is a World War II like half tank, half motorcycle deal. So it's got like a single wheel in the front, the treads in the back, and so they are traveling along these ruined streets in this Kettenkrad. They're going through all this crumbling infrastructure. They're seeking food and supplies, sometimes encountering other survivors along the way. Always a very friendly encounter as well. And the girls generally pass the time every day with conversations about nothing. They don't really have a destination in mind, so they'll reach a tall spot and go, "Hey, there's a tower over there. That looks interesting. Sure, let's just go there." So this charming little manga, I'm going to try and say this name. The author's name is Tsukimizu. Girls' Last Tour, the anime is 12 episodes. This is done by Studio White Fox, directed by a guy, Takaharu Ozaki. This guy went on to, so we have Girls' Last Tour, and then he went on to direct Goblin Slayer and Bastard Heavy Metal Dark Fantasy, which are
Wow.
very different anime from this one.
Yeah, they're very different.
So Girls' Last Tour seems like a tough sell on its face because how dour this story and setting seems to be. I promise it isn't, but really it's about two girls on a journey. They're talking about nothing in particular, and they're just having a good time enjoying each other's company. And as far as this 12-episode slice of anime, the manga is only 6 volumes, and I believe this 12 episodes adapted generally 4.5 volumes. Based on the ending, I think with the anime ending how it is of the journey continues, I think it's the perfect slice of this manga, because this is the kind of story of life is about the journey, not so much the destination. Girls' Last Tour is about enjoying the experience of being alive and enjoying the experience and joy of a new moment or a new destination. Just enjoy each other's company, and all the people that they run into are all kind of dealing with their own thing. Now that the world is ended, there's something that I've always wanted to do. Like they run into someone who's always wanted to fly a plane. So they scrap together this rickety glider, and it falls apart on them immediately, but they all get a good laugh out of it because of how silly it flew.
Yeah, after working so long on it.
Yeah, they've been working so long on it, but then the fact that it failed in the way that it did, they found that joy in that failure, and they said, well, now I have flown. time to find a new dream. And that's our encounter with that person.
I watched 6 episodes of this. I haven't finished it yet. I got busy, but I really enjoyed it. It definitely is a very like you said, I forget the word, but melancholy anime. Like it just has those, yeah, yeah, it has those feelings. Like everything's like gray. This is the end of the world type thing, but it's also a fun time when you get to see them like take a hot bath for the first time. Like they ain't used to that, and it's just so much fun in that their interactions with each other and just their journey, like Dave said. So
I was trying to find it, and when I was initially researching, this is a classic thing of it was on streaming and now it just suddenly isn't. This came out in 2017. This has been about 7 years since it came out, and now it was on Prime Video. It's no longer on Prime Video. I checked High Dive because the Blu-ray is with Sentai Filmworks, so I don't know if it's still on streaming, but I'm looking at my copy of the Blu-ray from Sentai Filmworks, and I got it for under $20. It goes on sale very often, and I think it's very much well worth the pickup. It's the kind of show that you can really float in and out of. It flows very well. All right, Tyler, what's your pick?
My number 2 pick is gonna be Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun.
Oh man,
yeah.
yes.
So this is going to be a 12 episode series from 2014. You can find it on High Dive, and the mangaka is going to be Izumi Tsubaki. And this is actually like a 4-panel or 4-koma manga, which is 4-panel, which is pretty. I didn't know that. I didn't know that before I started. Like I watched the anime first, and then I started reading the manga. And I had no idea this was a 4-koma. It honestly elevates the story a lot. This one is also going to be by Studio Doga Koba. And you will know them from like Oshinoko, Jellyfish Can't Swim in the Night, Plastic Memories. The directors, it's going to be dual directed. One of them, it seems like they didn't really direct a whole lot of shows before this. They was mostly a key animator. And their name is Mitsu Yamazaki. But the one that has some experience behind him is Ryohei Takashita.
Yeah, I know that name.
He's done like a few things like Dumbbells, How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift, and like Tada Never Falls in Love. Before I move on to what I liked about it, I figured I should probably read a summary for people that don't know what this is about. This is a rom-com. You know how the story goes. Girl crushes on guy. A girl confesses feelings to guy. Guy mistakes confession for a job application. Okay, maybe that's not how it usually goes, but that's what happens when Sakura finally gets the nerve to tell her crush Nozaki how she feels. But since she doesn't know that he's secretly a manga artist who publishes under a female pen name, and he doesn't know that she doesn't know, he misunderstands and offers her a chance to work as his assistant instead of a date. But while it's not flowers and dancing, it's a chance to get closer to him. So Sakura awkwardly accepts. And then Nozaki realizes how useful she can actually be. And if you couldn't tell based off the synopsis for this is going to be a very fun, humorous parody type of anime. And it's literally just making fun of all kinds of different romance, slice of life, and like shoujo tropes. Kind of like what Uncle Isekai did in its own show. I watched both subbed and dubbed of this, and the dubbed I feel like was better. When a show is so reliant on humor like this is, it's just better for me to watch it dubbed because like the jokes land a lot more for me. But the thing is like for this show in particular, the subbed was a way better performance, but I laughed way more with the English cast just because like Juliet Simmons was Sakura, and she's like so good at what she does for these types of characters. It just makes me love it so much more when I can laugh more on this type of show. So
definitely, the comedy is definitely at the forefront. The romance aspect is glacially paced, and that is putting it generously. This is very much about the comedy. I think the main thing to keep going with the anime versus further, I would like to see a season 2. This is one like a Kimi no Todoke situation. I really want to see a season 2 of this because it leaves you hanging.
Oh yeah.
Of all the read the manga endings, I think Nozaki-kun is You could basically do like a poster child for read this.
Yeah, and the thing is like I said, it's a 4-panel manga, so you're not gonna be getting
Yeah, it goes quick.
yeah, it's very fast to read. The biggest thing about this, like if you go into this wanting a pure romance story, and it does have like a lot of romance aspects to it, but like I said, it's not gonna be what you think. It's gonna be a twist on it. Is the best way to put it. I feel like if you've watched a lot of romance or even like just shoujo anime, you're literally gonna laugh your ass off at this because it's just making fun of all that stuff, all the tropes, all the different romance slice of life tropes that you get in every like standard romance and slice of life. So one of my favorite moments was when there was a part in the anime and the manga, obviously, where they was telling us about like another mangaka that that he was friends with a different agency or something, and she was writing her own like romance, and they just kept on writing more and more tanukis into their story because that's what was cute and that's what the director or like the agency was telling them to do. So just
It was like an editor
yeah, yeah.
mandate. Yeah, he was like, keep putting in tanukis for no reason.
And eventually, like there were so many tanukis in there, and like I'm pretty sure, like at one point, the romance started being between the tanukis too. I think I don't know.
Something like that. It's some very like weird in jokes with that of like, yeah, this editor is tanking the popularity of her manga. One of those of you don't want this guy as your editor.
Yeah, then I think Nozaki's like, maybe I should add tanukis in mine. I'm like, bro, did you just learn?
They literally blow up a tanuki in the opening credit sequence, so
Yeah.
it's very funny.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's so funny. I definitely it was one of the a show that I waited too long to watch, and I regret waiting this long to watch it. But it's definitely one of my favorites now. And like I said, the manga was really fun. I do prefer the anime over the manga because like I said, there's only so much that you can put inside of 4 panels. You know, the anime just like it just elevates those 4 panels and makes them into an actual story. You know, so you literally can't go wrong with the anime. They've done such a wonderful job.
1.
So my number one is a manga that just completely grabbed me from the beginning. Although my first experience with this was actually on Netflix. And so my number one is Blue Period. This is authored by Tsubasa Yamaguchi, and this started in 2021. Again, 12 episodes. This was animated by Studio 7 Arcs, and this was a Netflix original anime directed by, this is a co-directorship. So we have our chief director, Koji Masanari, who did like Photon, the Idiot Adventures OVA. And then he also did Maggie, the Labyrinth of Magic, also the Kingdom of Magic, if you remember those shows. The other director is Katsuya Asano, and his director credits begin with like Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains. He's the new guy on the staff. And so Blue Period is about art, specifically about the creative process and the struggle to express yourself through art. So Blue Period, we're following our guy, Yatara. He's a kid in high school, in his last years of high school. He doesn't have any particular goals he's striving for. He doesn't have any particular thing that gets him passionate, although he's very good at putting on a mask, and he gets very invested in his friends. But he has this random day in art class where he's asked to draw his favorite scenery, and he ends up drawing Shibuya in the early morning, and to him, Shibuya looks blue. And it's his first ever serious, like really serious attempt at expressing his inner world. And naturally, because it's like one of his first drawings, he gets praise him for it, but he's also frustrated by his lack of skill. And it sparks this passion in him, just something like, now I want to devote my life to this. And he wants to attend art college, but the only one within his budget is the extremely competitive Tokyo University of the Arts. So we have a setup of Yatara essentially has to cram all the artistic know-how plus find his own voice before he graduates high school in just less than 2 years. And as far as the anime coverage, so 12 episodes covered the first 6 volumes of the manga. So the original planned ending of the manga actually would have been where this anime ended. It's his 2-year journey to get into art college, to attempt that exam. But the manga got so popular that Yamaguchi-san really quickly realized they could continue. And I'm glad they did. Like, this manga just goes places. After those first 6 volumes or so, what happens after Yatora attempts to get into art school, man, it's incredible. It's just, what I really like about the manga, it shows a weird thing for me to say, but it also expresses it's how soul crushing it can be to sometimes create art. At the same time, to see the journey and the end is very fulfilling. So it's this whole cycle that comes with struggling against yourself, against the materials, against an assignment. Both the manga and the anime show Yatora and his classmates having near mental breakdowns pretty often. Like, this is extremely stressful to them. It is a very heartfelt story. It's a very intimate story. We are basically practically living in Yatora's headspace the entire time. It's a real gut puncher. I can say that.
I watched this here recently because Dave was pretty high about this. Obviously, since this is his like number one. I didn't think I would enjoy it. I ain't gonna lie, because like I'm not a big art guy, but I feel like this series does a really good job at not just focusing on the art, but also like their struggles, their journey to the goal that they want to achieve, the spot that they want to make it to. And that's the kind of story I vibe with. I like seeing the glow ups.
And some of them don't make it.
Yeah, some of them don't make it. Yeah.
Yeah, some of them don't make it to that goal, which what do they do after that? So
yeah,
it's very dialogue driven. There's the anime also skips out a lot of the technical terms and explanations of art in favor for the drama. I think for what the anime did, it did it pretty decently. I think when it was coming out, there were a lot of fans of Blue Period, especially, or just the really like the manga fans were not kind to the show. And I think it's a shame, but I think it does a really good job of just showing the emotions in the emotions in motion on everybody's faces and how they work through their creative process. I think that's what it has over the manga panels. But there is so much more manga that is past. Basically, you can think of it as like an exam arc / tournament arc to get into art school. But there's just so much more beyond that. Not only when I finished this series, I was like, I felt compelled to actually collect the manga. And I don't have what I consider a big manga collection. And I'm not sure when this is ending. This could still go on for quite a while. And buddy, I am locked in. I am invested.
One of those types of stories that literally it don't have to have an ending, because like it's about like the characters and their way of of living, going about their dreams and goals and challenges and stuff like that. So
what's your number one?
My number one is gonna be a Studio Shaft show. March Comes In Like a Lion. This is one of my favorite shows of all time. I think that it kind of fits on that same shelf as like something like Blue Period, because it does deal with the mental side of things just as much as it deals with all the other things that's going on with it, like shogi, for example, whereas Blue Period deals with art. And Ray, he's just a shogi prodigy. He's been a shogi prodigy since middle school. It shows him how he faces such intense pressure from both the shogi world that he's in and like his adopted family that he has to live with, or he did live with. And he moves to Tokyo by himself, where he kind of just settles in as kind of like a recluse. He just don't really have anything to his name. He don't care about himself really. He's just in his own little world, practicing shogi, playing the shogi games. But that all changes when he meets the Karamoto sisters, Akari, Hinata, and Momo. And they help provide the support that he's been missing all this time with his adopted family. This is just his story of him navigating the challenges of his shogi career and how to actually connect with others while still trying to figure out himself. The mangaka is going to be Chika Umino, and she doesn't really have a whole lot of stuff outside of this. The biggest one I see is like Honey and Clover. It's been going on since 2007. 18 volumes, 213 chapters. The anime covers around 90 chapters, so kind of almost half. Got a live action too in 2017. I haven't checked that out yet, but I want to. And this was actually co-directed as well. We had Kenjiro Okada, and he was kind of the he done a few things like Josie the Tiger and the Fish.
That's an amazing movie. I love that movie.
Yeah, it's a really good show. And he done a few episodes of Nisekoi as well. But other than that, he didn't really have anything on his resume. But on the other hand, Akiyuki Shinbo, he's got a lot of experience under his belt. He's done like some Yu Yu Hakusho, Awakawa Under the Bridge, Madoka Magica, Monogatari stuff, Nisekoi. It seems like they kind of work together a little bit on some of these projects. You can definitely tell that the direction in this was S tier. Like I read like all the manga up to this point, to the anime where it ended, which is 2 seasons, by the way, 44 episodes. They cover like 2 chapters an episode basically, and like the titles are like chapter 1. But the thing about this show is it isn't for everyone. It's a very slow paced drama. I know a lot of people don't have that kind of patience, but I love it because this is like a realistic portrayal of a teenager trying to make it through all of life's struggles one day at a time. Probably everybody has been through those days where you just get up and go about your day just because you have to, and not really because you want to, just because you have to. And for the first 3 to 4 minutes of like the first episode, we're literally watching Ray as he wakes up, he gets ready, and he walks to the shogi hall for a match. And everything that is shown in this time period, you can tell just how much Ray is like hurting on the inside and how lonely he is and how he's just going through the motions just because he has to. And like the first time Ray even talks in the first episode is 10 minutes in. Like, but he doesn't need to, because that's how great of a job they do in like showing what kind of state Ray is in as a character. And like this is ultimately like a story of healing, of overcoming those struggles, of getting better, being a better person, of finding your true self. But it's hard to do that alone, as everyone knows. But he doesn't have to, because he has the sisters, he has the found family. A lot of people love the found family aspect, and this one has one of the best found family in anime, in my opinion, because they got the 3 sisters, the grandpa, and the cats. Can't forget about the cats. It's one of my favorite parts of March Comes In Like a Lion. So also one of my favorite characters outside of like obviously the main characters are my favorites, but Momo's so precious. She's like 3 years old. She looks like Anya, sorta, and she's just so precious and so funny. The dynamic between like Ray's darkness and like hurting and trauma and all that stuff, and the brightness of the happiness of, you know, the Kawamotos are so night and day, and they do a really good job of showing that contrast as well. And it's one of the reasons why I really enjoy this show. The thing about this is the anime is way better than the manga, in my opinion, because the manga is this series is such a dialogue heavy series. And so like, even though it's a manga, it's basically like you're reading a light novel at times, because there's just so much words on the screens.
Okay.
And yeah, inner dialogue is a big thing in the shows. And I'm not sure, have you seen this, Dave?
I have not. I watched the first 3 episodes a couple years ago, right after it was done airing. It was a bit heavy. It's got a very heavy start. So you saying it's not for everybody is very true. So I have not. This is one I have not checked out the anime or the manga for, but I've certainly heard good things about it. But it was also, if you're going to read this, buckle up.
And like I said, I can't really recommend reading it over watching it. Definitely read it after like the ending of the anime, because it's been almost 10 years now, and we haven't gotten another season. So the show does a really good job of handling the inner dialogue, and there's a lot of talking, but like it all fits, it all belongs. And also like the shogi, you don't have to know a lot about shogi. It teaches you enough to know what's going on. It goes through the inner dialogue as matches are playing too. Plus, they got like a little kitty cat tutorial thing that the cats do to teach you how to play shogi too, which is really fun. I'm sure I've rambled on, enough about this. It's really good. People should definitely check it out if you can handle like the slow pace, slice of life, with the heavy themes. So
Consider that a ringing endorsement. I really have heard good things about March Comes In Like a Lion, so I think the anime is worth checking out. So that brings us to our bonus round, and we've been talking about a bunch of anime that adapt manga and then say go read the book. Well, now we want to talk about one manga that we would like to see adapted possibly into anime or another format. So, Tyler, I'm going to let you go first because, again, I don't know what you picked, but I suspected we may have a slight overlap. So I have a backup just in case you and I pick the same things. I want to hear your pick first. I'm excited.
I also brought it back up too, just in case. So hopefully you didn't pick this one, but I'm gonna be talking about Sweat and Soap.
Aha! You did. You did. Sell me on Sweat. You don't have to sell me on Sweat and Soap. Go. Let's go. Let's go.
So Sweat and Soap, it is a manga that I recently picked up like a few months ago, actually. And I know Dave, I kind of had a feeling this was going to go this route because in the intro of in the beginning of this episode, Dave was like, I really enjoy adult romances instead of high school, romances and stuff. But this is an adult romance, and not only is it an adult romance,
very much so.
It does not shy away from the adults acting like adults and doing adult things. I think in the first
she locks it down like by chapter 2.
Yeah, like the first chapter or the first 3 chapters at least, like minimum 3 chapters, they have sex. And like that's something you don't see in a whole lot of series and manga. Especially and even when it's adult characters, like you don't see that, they're
really
actually
cool.
doing adult things.
This is really cool.
So
right.
yeah, this is
give
really
him,
cool.
Give him the premise for God's sake.
Yeah. So
we've established that they bang. Great. What's the premise?
That's really important. So, but anyways, the premise of this is Asako Yashima. She works at Lilia Drop, a high-class manufacturer of women's cosmetics. But she used to be bullied in school and was nicknamed a stinko due to her unusual problem of excessive sweating. And due to this, she becomes very self-conscious of herself and tries to mask her scent with like a variety of different soaps and deodorants from her company. And one day, her smell catches the attention of Natori, the genius fragrance developer at her company. And he's just so happens to have a sensitive and very good sense of smell. Obviously he needs that if he's going to be the genius lead fragrance developer or whatever. Basically surprised by Asako's natural smell combined with the soap that he has created, he insists on sniffing her every day for a week in order to come up with a great Asako inspired fragrance.
Not weird at all.
Yeah, so this is literally the most weirdest and unique premise to a romance I think I've ever read.
The manga understands that, yeah, this is kind of weird. This is really weird.
And even though like Natori, like he comes on a little strong, I'll admit that, but he realizes that too, and like he takes actions to correct himself and correct his mistakes. They literally start dating within the first,
like 3
couple
chapters.
Yeah.
And Natori, like you'd think that with this whole smelling thing, and it's like as he's trying to write, like he's taking down notes. No, he doesn't force himself on Asako. She takes him to bed.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I was like, this was like one of her things. Like, I'm going to be bold for once. She's very shy, very withdrawn. And so I was expecting the Natori to kind of your classic josei. This is a seinen manga, but your classic like josei setup of the guy is like, come on, baby, let's go. And it's just going to eventually acquiesce. And then this turns into a romance. No, Asako is like, no, I've admired this guy for so long. And this is her first step towards changing herself. And so apparently she decided her first step was to take him to a love hotel. But I mean, that's where it starts. Honestly, yeah, they do start dating almost immediately, which it's all about them deciding, yeah, we have this very spicy start. Where do we go from here? And you're not having anyone coming in to actively sabotage the relationship. It's they're just trying to figure things out. Now, she's not sure if she wants other people knowing that she's dating the lead product developer, and it's just too much for her to handle. So there is the whole thing of we got to hide our relationship at work. You know, the show of We Have a Crush at Work. I think you were saying at the top of the episode.
Yeah. And if you enjoy this type of if you enjoy this manga, please watch I Have a Crush at Work, because it's got the same vibes, except it's got different premises. Also, like the dialogue in the manga is pretty adult. Like it's not they don't act like they're high schoolers, you know, they act like they're adult. Yeah, they talk out decisions like Natori, he doesn't care if people know about him, but he respects what she says and is like, okay, if you don't like that, then we'll hold off on telling everyone until you feel comfortable. And we literally see this conversation happen, you know, and handled like, you know, adults. And so it's really refreshing in order to see something like this, because we don't get a whole lot of adult romance, like good adult romance. Definitely go check it out if you haven't ever seen it. I definitely want to see an anime of this. As you can tell, I'm really enjoying Can You Keep a Secret at Work? And it is basically almost the same thing, except for I feel like Sweat and Soap would be way better.
Yeah, I can imagine this having the art style of, like, say, A Sign of Affection or Yamada-ku.
Yeah.
Like this would really go for the really soft, pastel-y, sort of very bright color palette. I could see it.
Madhouse, hint, hint.
Yeah, Madhouse, hint, hint. It is worth noting that Sweat and Soap does have a 9-episode J-drama. I don't know how much that covers, but for those of you person who likes J-dramas and knows about this, then hit us up. Let us know how it is.
According to Rocket and Vicky, like the soap opera drama side or whatever for like overseas stuff, it's got an 8.6 out of 10 with 19,000 people watching it.
That seems pretty solid. Yeah, definitely check out Sweat and Soap. It's a really just solid feel good title, and it's one of those we all need something like this in our lives, and just a little bit of spice.
Yeah. My second one was gonna be Yatsuba, by the way.
Oh, Yatsuba?
Yeah. So,
that's also yeah, that one's also like really needs a adaptation, something fierce. I think it's just a
it's such
I'm
a
thinking
great, manga.
Yeah, Yotsuba reminds me of something like Barakamon, or just like we just need to think of like a kid just living their best life.
Yeah. So I figured I'd go ahead and tell you that before you moved on to yours. So
Yep. So it's so funny. I kept thinking like if he freaking picks Sweat and Soap. So I have a little bit of explaining to do with this one, because it's actually a spin-off / sequel manga. We got a series called High Score Girl. It was pitched as a 1990s arcade romantic comedy. You had this kid, Haruo Yaguchi, and Yaguchi considers himself, pretty hot shit at fighting games, and he's put opposite the well-to-do, very high-class, quiet. She doesn't talk at all. Her name's Akira Ono, but she's also a genius at fighting games and arcade games. Their whole relationship starts with Akira Ono just completely taking him to task in the arcades. And it's this big love letter to 90s arcades, the home consoles, particularly SNK. Well, there is a third character who forms a bit of a love triangle. Her name is Hidaka Koharu. It's at some point Akira Ono goes away, and so Hidaka Koharu becomes his new friend. And then Akira moves back, and now we have a love triangle. Spoiler alert for the end of High Score Girl. Hidaka, she doesn't get the guy. So now we have this manga. I'm finally going to say the title of the manga. This manga is called High Score Girl Dash, and it's only available in Japan, so this is something that I'm purely reading scans. It hasn't come over here yet, but you can read the High Score Girl manga and, of course, watch the TV series on Netflix, which I highly recommend. So High Score Girl Dash is the spin-off set roughly 10, 11 years after the end of High Score Girl. And this follows Hidaka Koharu. She's now 28 years old and a teacher at her middle school alma mater. And so if you are interested in the main series, High Score Girl, it's only 10 volumes, authored by a person named Rensuke Oshikiri. And the anime was done by JC Staff. that fully adapted this first manga. They adapted 10 volumes across the 2 seasons. And obviously, Rensuke Oshikiri is doing Dash. Koharu is struggling to connect with her students. The kids don't really respect her. It's also the mid 2000s. And so we've gone over like the decline of arcades and the rise of the home console. Quickly, we start to realize that like 2 kids in Hidaka's class begin to form a relationship thanks to video games. And so it's a similar manner to how she fell in love with Haruo years prior. And it also basically wakes up Hidaka. And through this connection, she makes the school in her class a better place. It's a way for her to also examine her past mistakes and pass along those lessons in a positive manner. So I think it would make for a good anime adaptation. Plus the fact it's already a sequel to something that already had a relative following. The OG had the novelty of using the retro games to tell its story. And this manga for Dash could use things like that. It starts off with like a student brings a PSP to school.
PSP was definitely the GOAT back then. God.
Yeah, so this is like 2007, and so it's those home consoles, and so any kind of fighting games would be the latest of that time. And it's just arcades and kids connecting in video games, basically in a school that bans all forms of video games. So it's really cool to watch her self-actualize again and begin to move on in a place that is determined to keep her down. And so that's my pick for what I would like to see adapted into anime. Just throw JC Staff back on it, or whoever wants to cover it. You don't really see, it would be an anime about a teacher connecting with her students. It would really make for a nice sequel and follow-up of an unconventional way for teachers to connect with the students. And again, High School Girl had a lot of novelty in its romantic setup of tying it so strictly with SNK and all this other stuff, that what they've done in the manga is kind of the next step of that. And I think it'd be really cool to see.
Yeah. I also want to say you kind of convinced me. I know you wasn't talking about High School Girl. But you kind of convinced me to watch High School Girl. So you made me interested in it.
In fact, the manga was so devoted, the original manga was so devoted to like showing retro games that it actually kind of got a little bit close. It actually kicked off SNK actually sued Square Enix, the publisher, because of copyright infringement. And so in the manga, they had to do this whole copyright dodge thing. But in the anime, went and got all the permissions to show these video games being played, which I think is a really cool novelty of the original anime and a reason for to check it out over that manga. And then High School Girl Dash, they've gotten more of the permission side. They made sure to cross their I's and dot their T's.
It sounds like a great time. Maybe we'll get lucky one of these days. I know that this type of stuff is like coming back nowadays, it seems like, and being more popular and getting more adaptations. So
yeah, I think Dash would also serve because it's a perfect like millennial it's a perfect like millennial member berries kind of show.
Yeah.
We were all like around high school. I was around high school, so it's right there to get us in the nostalgia bones.
Yeah, I was one of them. I had a PSP in high school in my like freshman, sophomore year, and stuff like that.
Well, Tyler, I dare say we made ourselves one heck of an episode, and I'd like to thank you for coming out. And for those of you listening, thank you for listening all the way till the end. Let us know of any manga that you would like to see adapted into anime, and let us know of any more shows that had a read the manga ending that probably convinced you to pick up a book. Honestly, we kept ourselves to the slice of life genre. Again, it's the biggest offender, but also there's just so much to pick from. We can easily do like a part 2 or even do other genres as well. There's plenty to more where this came from. So let us know. You can write in on all of the socials, any field guide. Again, give the Anime Degens a follow and let them know that you appreciate them. Tell them that Dave sent you. And yeah, this is definitely a heck of an episode. I would definitely be down to do this again. Maybe like a top 3 instead of a top 5. But we like to talk, so it's a typical, in typical classic treehouse fashion, we're just gonna carry it right over to the field guide. So we'll see how this comes out on the editing floor. But thank you, Tyler, for joining me on this conversation. I hope you had fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I definitely had a blast. I always enjoy talking about some of my favorite anime, and they got adapted from the manga. So I think it's a good problem to have that we know how to talk and talk and talk and talk. So It just shows them that we love anime and manga so much. So
We're passionate about it.
Yeah.
And I think we had a pretty good variety of picks here.
hmm
And some things that haven't been mentioned about in a while. And that's the other thing. Slice of life, you generally tends to go under the radar after a while. I'm glad to see a genre that doesn't usually get a lot of mainstream attention versus the big boys. I'm glad to have a episode devoted to it so early on in the field guide's run.
I'm happy to have been a part of that episode too. So
Well, Tyler, well, buddy, I won't hold you any longer. So I hope you have a good day and a good rest of your week. And we'll certainly have to do this again sometime soon. So,
definitely, I'm always down for it. So
all right, to everybody else, thank you for listening and stay safe. And like always, watch more cartoons.